In this video, I'm going to show you the worst national I've ever raced. My decision making was poor, my line choice was bad, and I had no ability to pass anybody or hold my position. This was the Texas National, raced on October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And even though this was the worst performance I've ever had at a national, just 3 weeks later I raced the Gator Nationals, which, if you've seen the video, you'll know I had a really good performance. Except for the bike issues. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you everywhere where I went wrong, and hopefully preventing some of you from making the same mistakes I did. So, forget everything I just said because the first lap of the weekend was actually the only lap I won, and also the only time I transferred. I think this is good to analyze though because it's kind of a baseline for what I'm able to do on the track when I'm not battling with someone. And I gotta mention, even though I was 18 at the time, I was racing the 15-16 open group because not a single 17-20 expert signed up besides me, so that's probably part of why I won, but anyways, let's watch the lap.
Going to be a chin bike on the two.
This is going to be a short review because there wasn't really any real mistakes. I didn't bonk a manual or get high load or anything like that. That being said though, my line choice or at least execution of those lines were pretty slow. Especially over the first hill and down 3rd and 4th straight, I was simply going slow. In retrospect, I should have pedal manualed the first hill or even just pumped it. Still though, I won the lap and qualified to mains, so what more can you really ask for? Let's move on to class round 1. And in class round 1 is where the tone for the weekend was set. I loaded into the gate and my right shoe would not clip in. I don't think something like this has ever happened to me before. The lap was dead on arrival, and for whatever reason, whenever the gate drops and everyone takes off ahead of me, that's when I'm able to clip in. I kinda tried to catch up, but not really because the lap was pretty much over already. Luckily, this was the only time I had bike issues for the weekend, so let's move on to class round 2. As you can see, I'm put into gate 8, and being in 8 ended up causing one of the worst race choices I think I've ever made. Anyways, they're taking top 2 to the semifinals, so let's watch the lap.
Back to the stripe, we're going to go Nelson. Nelson on the top spot with the 14 bike. Nelson Deeks going to get it done.
Okay, riders, random start.
Out of motor 118, 119 from
Riders ready, watch the gate.
I'm going to interrupt the lap here. In this spot, I thought of one of 3 things I can do, and I want you to try and guess which one I did. Option 1, continue around the middle of the turn and try and pass down 2nd straight. Option 2, do a high low to cut behind 3rd and maybe gain a position. Option 3, rail the very top of the turn and hope it works out somehow. Yep, I chose option 3, and I'll let you decide if it was a good choice. If you're still not sure, I definitely made the wrong choice. Staying high in the turn is only really good if you're forced there and if you pedal the whole thing, and I didn't either. It's even worse because this turn is so wide, it's like 3 times longer than the average turn. I kept up fine with the group down 2nd straight, but down 3rd straight, and especially 4th, I was just bleeding ground. Even though I hit my lines fine, and it was all smooth, nothing I did around the track had any power, and I think that's the reason I was losing speed. You know, people always say smooth is fast and it's better to be smooth than powerful around the track, and I agree with that, but if you have no power, being smooth isn't going to make up for that, which is kind of what you see on this lap. That being said, it's day 1 and I'm hitting my lines good around the track, so there's still time for me to turn this around. Let's move on to open mains. Given I won round 1, I actually had the first gate pick, and just to play it safe, I chose gate 1. Even though I thought I was making the safe choice, it kinda came back to bite me. But enough yapping, let's watch the lap.
Johnson will pick up 4. Number 15, 16, Smith Christian. Looking for the third, working on the way home. Let's see who's going to get this one back to the line.
Drivers ready,
Christian,
watch the gate.
back to the spec. Nelson will get 4. Down the side, mad dive.
lap left me feeling really underwhelmed. I went out of the gate, then got mogged over the first hill and into one. I was able to hold second place for basically the whole lap until the last hill where I got a little complacent and got passed for third. This whole lap looked like I chugged a bottle of Benadryl because I was just so slow. Then on the third straight, I bonked the manual pretty bad and reverted to my natural instincts and just pumped the whole thing. Should go without saying, but don't do this. If you bonk and aren't able to get your bearings together, you should just go back to your race line. What's even worse is that I saw the rider in third while I was going into turn 3. I saw a shadow and I thought about moving to the outside and blocking him, but instead I just thought, I'll stay down the inside on last straight and I'll just be okay enough to hold him off. Little did I know I chugged a bottle of Benadryl and was going about 15 miles per hour and it got me past. The moral of this story is that if you're not going to race aggressive, you have to race fast, and if you're not going to race fast, you have to race aggressive, and I did neither. I do wonder what would have happened if I chose gate 2 or 3 instead of 1. Would I have been able to squeeze out the rider who passed me over first hill? Because I had a lead from the 30-foot line. Maybe. I definitely wouldn't have got squeezed myself, but unfortunately I didn't do that, and it got me third. At least I got a trophy though, I can't be too disappointed with that. Let's move on to day 2. Chose not to do opens for today or tomorrow, so I'm only going to be racing class. Let's see how the lap went.
Okay, riders, random start. Riders ready, watch the gate.
That kid's getting fast, I'll tell you what. Perkins on that. Even worse, both are fine.
I had an alright gate, but my first hill slowed me down again. Going here into turn 1, I was trying to go low, but the rider in 5th clipped the tire of the rider in 4th and got sent way up the turn. I still could have done the move, but I chickened out and pulled brakes. To my credit, I did a good job of getting ahead of him from there, but it didn't really matter at all. I was way too far out of the transfer spots to have any hope. Once again, my first straight put me into a bad spot and I wasn't able to put together down the rest of the track to make anything happen. At every national I race besides this one, it's my first straights and gates that are my best parts and I just have to hold it down the rest of the track. But here I'm struggling out of the gate and down the first straight. But I'm still struggling down 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, so I'm just struggling on every part of the track, so I really don't have any advantages over any other riders at this national. Anyways, I still had one more chance not to get motoed, so let's move on to class round 2.
14 is Ryan Pete's going to go to that quarter main event, 16 next.
Okay, riders, random start.
And on the second turn, down the third straightaway.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
Hanging tight on this one, down the...
On the bright side, this lap was going good for about 5 seconds. I did have a good start, and I was changing my line to pumping over the first hill, which worked slightly better. But I lost too much speed down the rest of the straight and pulled brakes till I was getting cut off. I am happy with how I stayed with the group after pulling brakes, but obviously I was just way too far back and couldn't really gain down any part of the track. And now, I've gotten motoed in 2 out of the 3 days at this national, and I only have 1 more day to turn things around. I will say, Sunday did go marginally better than Saturday or Friday, but I'm not going to spoil the final result. So let's move on to my last chance. Mentally speaking, at this point the national I was kind of dejected. 2 days of racing where I can't really point to a lap or even a moment that I'm happy with. In the past, I would have been a lot worse. I used to get really stressed before laps, especially if I wasn't doing good, so I would have been freaking out at this point. But nowadays, even though I do get nervous, I think everyone does, I am able to keep my cool and just race. So that's what I tried to do. Anyways, let's watch the lap.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
I'll just cut in here because everyone started to give up. I think I rode fine this lap, honestly. My gate was slow, but second straight was clean, and I got a real nice double manual with it too. I'm still disappointed with how I gave up down third straight because the rider in front of me started shutting the door. It was one of those moments where I might get cut off and might have to pull brakes, but when I slowed down, I didn't have to, and I could have kept going. And watching what the rider did down the rest of the straight showed I could have stayed on his inside until at least near the end of the straight, where he did start moving onto the pro set side to go low. As is common with pretty much every lap this weekend, the race was dead on arrival because I was in last coming down the first hill. I think it's because of my inexperience with 5-meter hills and faster tracks in general, but still, coming out of the gate back of the pack is just not acceptable. Regardless, I have one more chance to qualify out of motos, so let's watch that lap.
Okay, riders, random start. Riders ready, watch the gate.
I'm not too disappointed with this lap, all things considered. I got out alright, stayed with the pack, and gained a little bit down last straight. It wasn't enough to qualify, obviously, but at least I didn't get last, and that's a new feeling this weekend. It's hard to analyze this lap because I didn't really make any mistakes, I just was not fast enough. Maybe I could have tried to do a high-low in turn 1, but I don't really know if it was there in the first place. Now that the weekend's over, I want to show you some of my stats from racing. I had an average rider count of 5 and an average placement of 4.1. That's not so horrible, but it's only that good because of the opens laps on Friday, where I got a first and a third. If you remove opens and only look at class, I had an average rider count of 5 and an average placement of 4.8. The only lap in class that I didn't get last in was the very last lap of the weekend that we just looked at. I got last in 5 out of 6 laps and second to last in the other one. The whole weekend I raced timid without any authority on the track, and honestly I was just slow. You know I've been exceptionally negative this video, but I'm honestly not feeling too bad from this performance. At the time, I was coming off of an injury, and the competition was very stacked. Plus, 3 weeks later, I had a much better performance at the Gator Nationals. I beat a lot of riders and never got motoed. And in the laps I did get eliminated, 2/3 of them were because of bike issues. I don't say all this to say that the National wasn't bad. It was. I say it because one bad performance doesn't define where you are relative to the competition. BMX is a very unpredictable sport, and you shouldn't put too much stake into one performance. On the contrary, if all my nationals went this way, maybe I would just suck. But it was only one, so I've left it in the past and made this video to hopefully show you where I went wrong and what to avoid in your own races. Anyways, thank you very much for watching till the end. I know that this is a very different video than I'm used to making, and it took a lot of work, so please let me know what you like or didn't like in the comments. I have a lot more ideas for other commentary videos, so please let me know if you want to see them. Thank you, and I'll see you in a much more positive video soon.